Hello and welcome to my video all about how to weave in the ends of your knitting yarn. I'm going to demonstrate using a diagram because I just think it makes it so much easier to see. The diagram represents either garter stitch or the back of stockinette stitch. If you look closely at the back of your work, you'll see that it is mostly comprised of U-shapes, which are the bottoms of loops, and rainbow shapes, which are the tops of loops. Now, the main thing to remember when weaving in your ends of yarn is that you want to follow the path, where possible, of the yarn that has already been knitted. So therefore, you're going to be taking your yarn end through the same series of loops that you've previously knitted. This way, the ends of your yarn will blend in so much better. The aim is to make them near impossible to see. So even if your knitted work doesn't look like the diagram, i.e. you're not knitting garter stitch or you're not weaving the ends into the back of stockinette stitch, then the concept is still the same. You want to follow the path of your previously knitted yarn so that it blends in. And also, obviously, you want the yarn tail to be secure. On the diagram you'll see a series of letters. A represents the starting point when you weave in. A is the closest rainbow shape of yarn to where your yarn tail leaves your work. And the first step is to take your yarn tail, thread it through a yarn needle, and then take it up through that top of the loop that is labelled A. So you first take your tail up through loop A. You then do the same with B, so you take your needle up through the U shape B. You then follow that round by going down through loop C. At this point you might realise that you are taking the exact same path as one of the loops of your knitted work. You then go down through rainbow shape A again to complete the loop. You then do another exactly the same by going up through the adjacent rainbow shape labelled D. Then up through E, down through F, and down through D. And that's your second hoop path followed. And then you carry on by going up through G, up through H, down under I, and then down under G. And then up and under J, up and under K, down through L, and down through J again. You can repeat this as many times as you like until you feel like your yarn tail is secured. I usually do it for about a couple of inches along my knitted work. And then the very last step is to cut the yarn tail as close to your knitted work as possible, being very careful not to cut your knitting whilst you're doing this, of course. Here is a quick little animation of the path your yarn needle will take by going through all of these sections of yarn that are coloured red. I have seen a few different ways of weaving in ends by looking at other YouTube videos, so it's not just one way to do it. I just find that this works for me, and you can pick whichever method you think works for you. As long as the yarn tail blends into your work and stays secure, then the method works. I think in my mind, before I ever wove any tails in, I overcomplicated it in my mind, but really it is a very simple concept and a very simple technique. One little tip is to start weaving in as close to where your yarn tail leaves your knitted work as possible, and also don't pull on the yarn tail too much as you're weaving it in, because you'll tighten the stitches around it and you might create puckering or just a strange tight look in that area. I hope you are inspired to now weave in your yarn tails and be confident about it. Thanks very much for watching.